Invisible Man, Chapter 10. Invisible Man loses his temper. First of all, I want to say that I'm not a native speaker, I am here just for practice. Okay, I start. While these things were going on in the parlor, and while Mr. Huckster was watching Mr. Marble as he leaned smoking his pipe against the gate, Mr. Hall and Humphrey stood talking nearby. Suddenly there came a loud knock on the door of the parlour, a cry, and then silence. "Hello," said Teddy Humphrey. "Hello," from the bar. Mr. Hall and Teddy looked at the door. "Something wrong," said Hall. For a long time they listened. Strange noises were coming from behind the closed door, as if something was falling about. Then a sharp cry. "No, no, you don't!" Then silence. What's that?" exclaimed Humphrey in a voice. Loud voice. "Is everything all right there?" called Hal. "Quite right," came Mr. Bunting's voice. "Quite. Don't come in." They stood listening. "I can't," they heard Mr. Bunting say. "I tell you, sir, I will not." "Who's that speaking now?" asked Humphrey. "Mr. Coss, I suppose," said Hall. "Can you hear anything?" Silence. "Someone is throwing the table around," said Hall. Mrs. Hall appeared behind the bar. When they told her, she would not believe anything strange was happening. Perhaps they were moving the chairs and table. "Didn't I hear the window?" said Humphrey. "What window?" asked Mrs. Hall. "The parlour window," said Humphrey. Everyone stood listening. Mrs. Hall, looking straight in front of her, saw without seeing the bright shape of the inn door, the white road, and Huckster's shop front shining in the June sun. Suddenly Huckster's door opened, and Huckster appeared, his eyes staring with excitement, his arms waving in the air. "Stop, thief!" cried Huckster, and he ran towards the yard gates and disappeared. At the same time a noise came from the parlour, and there was the sound of windows being closed. Hal, Humphrey, and everyone in the bar rushed out into the street. They saw someone run round the corner towards the hill road, and Mr. Huckster jump into the air and fall on his face and shoulder. Hal and two workmen ran ran down the street and saw Mr. Marble disappearing past the church wall. But Hal had had hardly run 12 yards when he gave a loud shot and fell on his side, pulling one of the workmen with him. The second workman came up, and he too was knocked down. Then came the rush of the village crowd. The first man was surprised to see Huckster and Hall on the ground. Suddenly something happened to his feet, and he was lying on his back. The crowd was falling over him, and he was being sworn sworn at by a number of angry people. When Hal, Humphrey, and the workmen ran out of the house, Mrs. Hall had remained in the bar. Had remained in the bar. Suddenly, the parlor room door was opened. Mr. Cass appeared and, without looking at her, rushed down the steps towards the corner of the street. "Hold him!" he cried. "Don't let him drop those books and clothes. You can see him so long as he holds them." He knew nothing of Marvel, for the Invisible Man had handed over the books and clothes to him in the yard. The face of Mr. Cass was angry and determined, determined, determined. But there was something wrong with his clothes. He was wearing a tablecloth. "Hold him!" he shot. "He's got my trousers and all the vicar's clothes." Coming round the corner to join the crowd, he was knocked off his feet and lay kicking on the ground. Somebody stepped on his finger. He struggled to his feet. Something knocked against him and threw him. He threw him on his knees again, and he saw that everyone was running back to the village. He rose again and was hit behind the ear. He set off straight back to the village inn as fast as he could run, and on his way jumped over the body of Huckster, who was now sitting up. Behind him, as he was halfway up the inn steps, he heard a sudden cry of anger above the noise and the sound of someone being struck in the face. He knew the voice as that of the Invisible Man. In another moment, Mr. Cass was back in the parlor. "He's coming back, Bunting," he said, rushing in. "Save yourself." Mr. Bunting was standing in the window and trying to dress himself in the curtains and a newspaper. "Who's coming?" he said, so surprised that his dress nearly fell off him. "The Invisible Man," said Cass, and rushed to the window. "We'd better move, quick. He's fighting like a madman." In another moment he was out in the yard. Mr. Bunting heard a frightful struggle in the passage of the inn and decided to leave. He climbed out of the window and ran up the village street as fast as his fat little legs could carry him. Chapter 11. Mr. Marple tries to say no. Mr. Marple was walking painfully through the thick woods on the road to Bramblehurst. He looked very unhappy and was carrying 3 books and some clothes wrapped in a blue tablecloth. A voice went with him, and he was held tightly by unseen hands. If you try to if you try to escape again, said the voice, I will kill you. I didn't try to escape, said Mr. Marble. The boy swore a few times and then stopped. Mr. Marble, who was not used to do such work, was very tired. There was uh, there was silence for a time. Then I shall have to make use of you. You are a poor creature, but I must. Yes, I am, said Marble. You are, said the voice. I am not strong, said Marble. Then after a short silence he repeated, I am not strong. I got a weak heart. I can't do what you want. I'll make you, said the voice. I wish I was dead, said Marble. Go on, walk, move, said the voice. It's cruel, said Marble. Be quiet, said the voice. I see that you are all right, but be quiet. I want to think. Soon, soon they saw the lights of a village. I shall keep my hand on your shoulder, said the voice. Go straight through the village and don't try to say anything to anybody.